Forget your fancy titanium gadgets and tactical flashlights for a second. Because over a century ago, soldiers in the mud-soaked trenches of World War I were carrying something far more ingenious. Survival kits so brilliantly designed that even today they outshine most of our high-tech everyday carry gear. Yeah, you heard that right. The men of 1915 might have been fighting with bolt-action rifles, but when it came to staying alive with what they had on hand, they were decades ahead of us. Back then, a survival kit wasn't about looking sleek on Instagram or having the latest multi-tool clipped to your belt. It was about not dying in the filth and chaos of trench warfare. The average soldier's kit was small enough to fit in a pocket or a pouch, yet packed with tools that could mean the difference between life and death. Literally. These kits weren't designed for convenience. They were built for survival when the world fell apart around you. While modern EDC culture often obsesses over variety, every gadget for every occasion, World War I kits were the exact opposite. They embodied the less is more philosophy. Every single item had multiple uses. Soldiers didn't carry luxuries, they carried solutions. Let's start with one of the most overlooked heroes, the humble tin. Soldiers used small metal tins to store essential tools, but those tins themselves became tools. You could boil water in them, sterilize instruments, even use them to cook a ration of whatever mystery meat you'd been issued. No fancy titanium spork required. A simple tin and some ingenuity could feed, warm and sustain you. Inside those tins were items that still put modern gear to shame. Sewing needles, for instance, not just for mending uniforms, but for suturing wounds or improvising repairs on torn webbing and gear. A length of string or thin wire could serve as a snare, an emergency belt, or even a fuse. Matches were waterproofed by dipping them in wax, a trick survivalists still swear by today. These soldiers were masters of making one item do 5 things, a skill that's practically vanished in our single-use, battery-dependent world. Let's talk about tools. Modern EDC fans love a good multi-tool, but the World War I equivalent was often even more practical. Compact folding knives came with can openers, screwdrivers, and even small awls, not for show, but because they had to work in the worst conditions imaginable. A soldier could field strip a rifle, open a can, or build a shelter with that one piece of gear. No fancy design, no marketing fluff, just brutal, effective engineering. Then there were the trench lighters. These weren't disposable or USB-charged gadgets. They were refillable, windproof, and often made from salvaged bullet casings. When your entire life depended on fire, reliability wasn't optional. Modern lighters look sleek, but few could survive the mud and rain of the Western Front. And here's the thing, those old designs still work. Collectors and bushcraft experts today rebuild World War I-style trench lighters and swear by their durability. The principle is simple. If you can fix it in the field, it'll never fail you. What made these kits so enduring wasn't just the gear, it was the mindset behind them. You know, WWI soldiers had to think like survivalists every single day. They were trained to adapt, improvise, and make do with almost nothing. That's a skill modern gear often replaces with, well, convenience. Power banks and smart flashlights are great until they run out of juice. In contrast, a simple candle and a mirror, staples of many WWI kits, could light up a trench, signal allies, or even start a fire. No charging required. Modern EDC often leans on tech, but WWI kits thrived on principles: durability, redundancy, and adaptability. Each item served multiple purposes and could be repaired or replaced using whatever was around. That's a survival philosophy that never goes out of style. So, what can we actually learn from these century-old kits? First, practicality beats novelty. WWI soldiers didn't care how something looked, only that it worked. Second, simplicity is power. The fewer points of failure you have, the longer you'll last when things go sideways. And finally, versatility is everything. One tool that can do 5 things will always beat 5 tools that do 1. Even in 2025, when we have access to cutting-edge materials and compact tech, these principles still dominate the conversation among serious survivalists. Because when the lights go out, your survival won't depend on Bluetooth. It'll depend on knowledge, grit, and the kind of clever simplicity our great-grandfathers mastered. The truth is, World War I's survival kits weren't just collections of gear. They were lessons in human ingenuity. They proved that survival isn't about the newest tool. It's about the right mindset. The soldiers who carried those kits lived in a world that demanded creativity and resilience at every step. And that's why, even now, their gear feels more authentic, more real, than the over-engineered gadgets we carry today. So, the next time you show off your modern EDC setup, take a moment to think about the soldiers who had to make do with so much less, and somehow made it work better. Maybe we don't need more stuff. Maybe we just need smarter stuff. And if you found this dive into forgotten survival wisdom as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and share this video with a fellow gearhead. Because here, on the Forgotten War fronts, history isn't just about the past. It's about rediscovering the genius that still shapes how we survive today.